You can lose the job. You can lose the money. You can lose the title, the status, the comfort. But the one thing the world can never take from you is the person you decide to become. So why are you working harder on something that can be taken than on the one thing that lasts forever? Your job is what you do. But you are the real work. The real masterpiece. And until you understand that, you'll always be building someone else's dream while burying your own. You were not born to punch a clock. You were not summoned into this world to live and die by the rhythm of a paycheck. You were born with the fire of stars in your blood, and somewhere along the way, someone told you to trade that fire for comfort. For stability. For a job. But listen closely, the job isn't your life. It's not your identity. It's not your destiny. It's a role, a tool, a chapter, not the book. The greatest mistake people make is working harder on their job than they do on themselves. They grind for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, building someone else's dream, strengthening someone else's empire, forgetting the one empire that matters most, the one inside. You are the project. You are the foundation. If you elevate the self, everything around you must rise to meet it. But if you neglect it, if you forget the mind, the soul, the body, the heart, no job, no title, no promotion can ever save you from the emptiness you'll feel when you realize you became a machine, instead of becoming a legend. Carve this into your consciousness: you don't get paid by the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. And that value doesn't increase by staying later. It increases by becoming more, wiser, sharper, stronger, clearer. Think of the titans of history. Edison didn't wait for an employer to tell him to invent the light bulb. Carnegie didn't clock in for someone else's steel empire. Oprah didn't rise from poverty by improving her resume. She rose by expanding herself. They all understood the ultimate law: if you build yourself, the world cannot help but notice. The mistake people make is worshiping the job. But a job is like a boat, it can carry you, but it's not your destination. You are the captain. You are the ocean. And until you realize that the most powerful force in your life is your own becoming, you'll always be waiting for permission, for promotion, for a break that will never come. No one is coming to build you. That's your work. Your mornings, that's your temple. Your thoughts, that's your blueprint. Your discipline, that's your currency. What you invest into you compounds faster than any stock, any crypto, any career ladder ever could. The mind is the gold mine. The habits are the pickaxe. Dig. You think you're stuck because of your job? No. You're stuck because you stopped growing. You stopped learning. You stopped pushing. You settled for the illusion of progress because you were busy, but not evolving. A seed doesn't bloom by staying comfortable underground. It breaks itself open, shatters its shell, and fights its way through darkness, toward light. That's what personal growth feels like. It's not a course. It's not a motivational quote. It's war. It's waking up and confronting your own limits, and then refusing to accept them. The truth is, most people fear working on themselves because it's the only place they can't hide. In a job, you can fake it. You can coast. You can look busy. But within yourself, there are no shortcuts. No one else to blame. No one else to do it for you. So let the weak chase promotions, you chase evolution. Let the average grind for income, you grind for insight. Because when you become the kind of person who demands excellence from themselves, the world responds. Life mirrors your standards. Raise them. Do not confuse movement with momentum. Doing more doesn't make you more. Being more makes you more. So when you rise tomorrow, don't just check your schedule, check your soul. Are you working harder on your job, or on your dreams? Are you cultivating discipline, clarity, strength? Or are you waking up just to survive another day? You weren't born to survive. You were born to thrive. And thriving begins when you realize that the real work is you. Not your boss. Not your inbox. You. Look around, how many walk through this world asleep? Eyes open, minds closed. Hearts numb. They wake with dread, shuffle through traffic, drink their coffee like it's anesthesia, and trade hours for dollars, all while the flame inside them flickers weaker by the day. But you are not meant for that. There's something wild in you. Something ancient and fierce that knows the truth, that knows you were built for more than routine. You were not meant to be managed. You were meant to be unleashed. So don't let the world domesticate your potential. Don't let the clock dictate your character. The job might demand your time, but your greatness demands your life. And life will not reward the obedient, it will reward the awakened. Understand this, the job pays you for what you already are. But working on yourself, that pays you in what you could become. That's the infinite return, not the salary, not the benefits, but the becoming. Because while the world obsesses over performance, the wise obsess over preparation. And preparation doesn't begin with your calendar. It begins with your character. With how you spend your quiet hours. With how you train your mind when no one is watching. That's where empires are built, in silence. Ask yourself, when was the last time you studied you? Not a textbook. Not a manual. You. When did you last ask, who am I becoming? What patterns am I repeating? What fears still rule me? What dreams am I burying? The external world is only ever a reflection of your inner reality. You can't outperform your self-image. You can't out-hustle a broken belief system. You must break the walls from within before you break through the world outside. People talk about mindset like it's a buzzword. No, it's the operating system of your entire life. Your thoughts are the architects of your fate. What you believe determines what you attempt. And what you attempt shapes what you experience. So if your mind is filled with doubt, with self-loathing, with excuses, no job, no relationship, no opportunity can ever fulfill you. Because you will sabotage it with the virus of unworthiness. But if you build a mind rooted in resilience, in vision, in power, then even the smallest chance becomes a revolution. Every master you admire started not by upgrading their job, but by upgrading their mind. Lincoln, born in a log cabin, self-educated by candlelight. He became the voice of a nation not by chasing promotions, but by forging the iron of his mind in solitude. Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. So he built a kingdom in his head, and then brought it into the world. Their legacy didn't come from working harder at their job. It came from working harder at who they were. That is the work most will never do, and that's why most will never rise. You cannot cheat this. You cannot delegate it. No mentor, no book, no system will do it for you. The mirror is your taskmaster. The stillness is your curriculum. And discipline is your weapon. Discipline is how you turn chaos into creation. It's the bridge between dreams and manifestation. And yet, people treat it like a punishment. No, discipline is devotion. Devotion to your future self. Devotion to the version of you who refuses to settle. Devotion to the path that requires more of you, but gives you everything in return. Because when you work harder on yourself, you stop begging life for favors. And start commanding it with presence. Your presence becomes your power. People feel it. Rooms shift when you walk in. Opportunities find you. Why? Because you've built something sacred within, and the universe always rewards internal greatness with external echoes. But you must choose, comfort or calling. Routine or reinvention. Approval or authenticity. Most will choose comfort. They'll work 40 years on a job, and never once spend 4 hours rebuilding their mindset. They'll invest in everything but themselves. And then wonder why life feels hollow. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you know, the greatest work you'll ever do will never show up on your resume. It'll show up in your eyes. In your energy. In the way you carry yourself when no one's clapping. And when the storms come, and they will come, you won't be shaken. Because you will have built your roots deep in the soil of self-mastery. And the world cannot take from a man who owns himself. So go. Rise early. Read deeply. Move fiercely. Reflect honestly. Build your temple brick by brick. Because the day you begin to work harder on yourself than your job is the day the world begins to work harder for you. You see, success isn't something you chase. It's something you align with. It's not out there waiting to be caught, it's within you, waiting to be unleashed. But alignment only comes when the internal and the external begin to move as one. When your actions echo your beliefs, and your habits reflect your values. Most people are fractured. Scattered. They say one thing and do another. They hope for greatness but live in hesitation. They talk about goals, but their lifestyle tells a different story. But when you begin working harder on yourself, that fragmentation begins to vanish. You become integrated, whole, powerful. There is a stillness inside every storm, and when you sharpen yourself from the inside out, you become that stillness. Unshakable. While others are reacting, you're responding. While others are drowning in noise, you're listening to the silence, because that's where clarity lives. And clarity is no small thing. It is the birthplace of all power. Without clarity, effort is scattered. Time is wasted. Energy is bled out in every direction. But when you are clear, truly clear, the world bends to your intent. Your yes becomes unshakable. Your no becomes sacred. You no longer chase 100 things. You pursue one thing with 100 times the force. That's the shift. You stop asking, what should I do today, and start asking, who do I need to become today? That's the real question. That's the one that changes everything. Because when you get clear on who you want to become, when that vision burns in your chest like fire, then discipline is no longer suffering. It's sacred. Sacrifice becomes strategy. And each day becomes a step, not a struggle. Look around. Everything you admire was built by people who chose long-term purpose over short-term pleasure. They worked on themselves while others slept. They studied while others scrolled. They trained while others partied. And the world eventually called them lucky. But it wasn't luck. It was alignment between who they were and who they were becoming. So build the vision. Not the vague kind, the vivid kind. The kind that keeps you awake at night, that forces you to rise in the morning with fire in your veins. A vision is a contract with the future, signed by your present discipline. And the more detailed it becomes, the more your subconscious begins working for you, not against you. You don't have to force progress, it starts to feel inevitable. Because it is. But be warned, this path will cost you. It will cost you distractions. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the approval of people who benefit from your weakness. Let them go. Because the truth is, the higher you rise in yourself, the smaller your circle becomes. Not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. You no longer have time to entertain mediocrity. You no longer tolerate energy that drains, conversations that numb, or routines that lull you back to sleep. You're building something sacred. And sacred things require sacred space. So protect it. Guard your mind like it's a vault. Filter your input like your future depends on it, because it does. Every book, every podcast, every video, every conversation, they're either building you or breaking you. There is no neutral. Not anymore. And remember, clarity without execution is just a fantasy. Vision without action is just a hallucination. So move. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for confidence. Confidence doesn't come before the leap, it's built by the leap. The first step is not supposed to feel comfortable. It's supposed to test your faith. And faith is not believing in the absence of doubt, it's acting despite it. So let your vision be stronger than your fear. Let your purpose be louder than your pain. Let your mission outgrow your excuses. And if you stumble, good. If you fall, better. Because every fall carries data. Every setback sharpens the blade. Every failure is a forge. The man or woman who works on themselves does not fear defeat, they invite it. Because they know, the goal is not to stay comfortable, the goal is to become capable. And capability can't be bought. It can't be taught. It must be earned. In sweat. In silence. In solitude. In the thousands of unseen hours you spend sculpting the unshakable core of who you are. The world does not need more employees. It needs more architects of the self. Warriors of clarity. Artists of discipline. Builders of inner kingdoms. So stop waiting for the next opportunity. Become the kind of person who creates opportunity. And the way you do that? You work harder on yourself. Relentlessly. Patiently. Ferociously. Until your very presence becomes undeniable. The people who change the world aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who change themselves so deeply, so thoroughly, that the world has no choice but to respond. They don't beg for seats at the table. They build the table. They don't chase power. They become so powerful within that power chases them. But that begins in the shadows. In the quiet. When nobody's watching. When the applause is absent and the progress is invisible. When the only reward is the man or woman you're becoming in the process. And that process is sacred. Because transformation doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when you face resistance, and choose to rise anyway. Every time you push past laziness, comfort, or fear, you send a signal to your future, I am ready for more. You become the signal. Your energy begins to shift. Your thoughts sharpen. Your choices refine. And the universe takes notice, not because you asked for more, but because you became more. People will look at you differently. They'll say, you've changed. And you'll say, damn right I have. I was never meant to stay the same. And make no mistake, this path demands everything. It will ask for your doubt, your pride, your laziness, your ego. It will rip them out of you one by one. And if you let it, if you surrender to the fire, you will emerge forged, not in steel, but in unshakable truth. This is the difference between surviving and awakening. Too many people survive their lives. They survive the job. They survive the week. They survive their own dreams until those dreams grow silent. But the awakened, they live with urgency. With fire. Not recklessness, purpose. They understand that time is not promised, and potential is not guaranteed. So they rise early. Not because it's trendy, but because it's sacred time. They train, not to impress, but to sharpen the mind through the body. They study, not for credentials, but because wisdom is the armor of kings. They reflect, because silence is the sanctuary where truth speaks loudest. They don't just live. They build themselves like a cathedral, day by day, brick by brick, moment by moment. And when you build like that, you no longer fear the economy. You no longer cling to the title. You no longer measure your life by someone else's standard. You are the standard. You become the storm others prepare for, the fire others gather around, the light in the dark that reminds people what's possible. But you must stay committed, not to a result, but to the process. Results are fleeting. Processes are eternal. One day, the promotion won't matter. The bank balance won't matter. But who you are will echo long after you're gone. Because people won't remember your job title. They'll remember your presence, your fire, your example. And if you choose this path, if you truly work harder on yourself than you do on your job, that presence will be undeniable. But hear this truth clearly, no one is going to hand you that version of you. No one is coming to sculpt your mind, to discipline your habits, to rewrite your story. That's your assignment. Yours alone. And it won't always be pretty. Some mornings you'll doubt everything. Some days you'll fall back into the old patterns. The resistance will whisper, take it easy. Just coast. You've done enough. That's the test. The moment when nothing seems to be working is exactly when you must work harder. Not on the job. On you. Because breakthroughs don't come when you feel strong, they come when you push through weakness. When you walk through the fire without flinching. When you hold the line when everything inside you screams to fold. That's when you separate yourself. Not from others, but from the old version of you. The one who settled. The one who waited. The one who thought someday would come knocking. But someday is a lie. There is only today. This breath. This moment. And the question is not, what do I have to do? The question is, who must I become to never live this small again? That question, that's the gateway. It leads to the version of you who doesn't need motivation, because you've become devoted. It leads to the version of you who walks into any room with gravity, because you've earned your power. It leads to the version of you who no longer begs the world for a better life, because you've become the creator of one. And the only way there is to work harder. Not on your job. Not on your resume. But on the only thing that truly matters. The masterpiece within. There is a kind of wealth that cannot be measured in numbers. A richness that goes beyond what's in your account and speaks instead to what's in your soul. That wealth is self-respect. That wealth is emotional strength. That wealth is waking up every morning knowing you are aligned, not assigned, that you chose this path, you forged it, you bled for it. And that wealth is reserved only for those willing to build themselves when no one's clapping. When there are no cameras, no cheers, no instant results. Only effort. Only repetition. Only the quiet hum of purpose in the still dark hours of the morning. Because true transformation is not loud, it's relentless. It's found in the 5 a.m. alarm you answer, not because you have to, but because you've decided you will. It's in the book you read instead of the television you ignore. It's in the workout you finish when your muscles scream to quit. It's in every small, invisible decision to own yourself instead of outsourcing your identity to a job title, a manager, a system. This is what they don't teach you in school, that your job is not your identity. That success is not given to those who follow the rules, but to those who rewrite them from the inside out. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. Not because he believed in cute quotes, but because he understood the mechanics of the mind. Your belief system is the architect of your behavior. Change the belief, and the actions follow. Change the actions, and your world must shift to reflect it. So what do you believe about yourself? That you're average? That you're stuck? That you're too late? Or do you believe that greatness was woven into your bones before you ever had a chance to doubt it? That there is more for you, not by luck, not by fate, but by fire. The fire you choose to ignite every time you decide to build instead of beg. To rise instead of retreat. Working on yourself means returning to the source. It means clearing the noise of what society has told you to be. And asking, what was I before the world told me who to become? It means silencing the external demands long enough to hear the internal truth. That truth is rarely polite. It doesn't care about your calendar. It doesn't ask for permission. It shouts in your soul, this is not all you were meant for. So stop waiting to be chosen. Stop waiting for praise. Stop waiting for someone to finally see your potential. Be the one who sees it. and act on it with a fury so real, so present, that the world is forced to pay attention. Do not be the person who spends 40 years working for a job and 0 years working on their vision. Do not be the one who climbs the ladder only to find it leaning against the wrong wall. Do not be the one who dies with music still in their chest, brilliance still locked behind fear, gifts still buried beneath someday. Because someday is the greatest lie you'll ever be told. Someday becomes never for most. They wait. And wait. And wait. Until one day they wake up, and there's no more time left to wait. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you've remembered that every dollar you earn is a result of the value you bring, and that value comes not from working later, or faster, or harder for someone else, but from working deeper within. You are the business. Your mindset is the strategy. Your emotional control is the leadership. Your vision is the compass. And your discipline, that's the machinery, the unbreakable engine that powers it all. This is not about quitting your job. This is about transcending it. About bringing such a level of power and presence to every space you enter that you redefine the environment just by being in it. And you can only do that when you've done the work within. When you've confronted your shadows, refined your values, built your habits, and trained your mind like a weapon. It is a tragedy that so many spend their entire lives becoming experts at their job, but remain strangers to their own potential. They can follow orders. They can meet deadlines. They can recite policies. But ask them who they are beneath it all, and silence follows. You must never be that person. You must know yourself. Deeply. Ruthlessly. Brilliantly. So that no matter what changes in the economy, in the job market, in the trends, you remain unshaken. Because you've built something within that no one can take. That is the kind of strength that never goes out of style. That is the kind of success that can never be outsourced. That is what it means to truly live. To work harder on yourself than on any job. Until the work becomes you. What you build in yourself, no recession can touch, no layoff can erase, no market crash can destroy. It's yours. Carved in your decisions. Sealed in your discipline. And that kind of wealth, the wealth of personal power, is the only true security there is. You must understand, this world doesn't pay you for time. It pays you for value. And value is not determined by your title, your office, your degrees. Value is born of who you've become. What you know. What you can do. What energy you bring into a room. What clarity you carry into chaos. What certainty you project in the midst of uncertainty. That's value. And value doesn't come from the outside, it is extracted from within. It's pulled from pain. Forged in fire. Built through repetition, through struggle, through relentless self-inquiry. You don't find yourself, you build yourself. And the ones who rise are the ones who treat their inner world with the same urgency most people give to their to-do list. Because your external world is a mirror. You want more income. Build more insight. You want more opportunity. Build more capacity. You want more influence. Build more integrity. Everything you're seeking is not ahead, it's within, waiting for you to unlock it. But here's the cost. You don't get to keep your old self. The part of you that settles must die. The part that waits, that hesitates, that seeks comfort. It can't come with you. You must shed it. Break it. Burn it down if you have to. Because that old version of you was built for survival, and you were built for so much more than that. Think of every great leader, innovator, creator. They did not just excel at what they did. They transcended it. Why? Because they focused on themselves first. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire, but his greatest power wasn't in his armies. It was in his stoic control over his own mind. Benjamin Franklin shaped a nation, not by accident, but by spending decades refining himself through personal rituals, daily reflection, and a lifelong obsession with improvement. These were not men of luck. They were men of design. And you, too, must become a person of design, intentional, deliberate, unstoppable. That begins with mindset. The master lens through which all things are filtered. Most people operate from a mindset of limitation. They think in ceilings, not possibilities. They say, I can't, I'm not, it's hard, and then wonder why life gives them exactly that. But when you rewire that lens, when you install a mindset of growth, of ownership, of relentless optimism, life begins to shift. You stop asking, what can I get? And you start asking, who must I become to attract what I desire? That's the difference between a follower and a creator. One waits for permission. The other commands reality through the force of identity. And your identity is shaped not by what you believe in theory, but what you practice in motion. Your habits are the proof of who you are. Not your words. Not your wishes. Your repeated behavior. The things you do when no one's watching. That's what builds the architecture of self. So ask yourself daily, am I becoming stronger, clearer, wiser, more focused, more present, more disciplined? And if the answer is no, then change. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Now. Because every moment you delay your own transformation, the version of you who could be living a bigger, bolder, more fulfilled life, dies a little more. Do not let the comfort of okay rob you of the greatness that lives beyond find. You were not born to live a life of quiet frustration. To stare at the clock and call that a living. To count vacation days like they're glimpses of freedom. You were not made for that cage. You were made to create. To lead. To build. To awaken. And it begins with one vow. That you will never again work harder on something outside of yourself than you do on the soul that breathes within. Because when you make yourself the project, everything changes. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So if you want more, be more. If you want peace, be peace. If you want strength, train strength. If you want to lead, master yourself so deeply that your life becomes the loudest leadership of all. The job doesn't make the man. The man makes the job obsolete. He outgrows it. He becomes too powerful, too sharp, too clear to be confined by the walls of someone else's system. Not because he rebelled, but because he evolved. And that is your path. Your calling. Your invitation. To rise so far above mediocrity that mediocrity can no longer find you. Because you've ascended. Because you've committed. Because you've worked harder on yourself than anything else in this life. And now, the world cannot ignore you. There will come a moment, not far from now, when the rewards begin to show. Not just the tangible ones, though they'll come, the income, the offers, the recognition. But something deeper. Something no one can ever steal from you. Self-certainty. That quiet, grounded knowing. That when the storms come, and they will, you won't just survive, you'll stand taller. When others crumble, you'll rise. When the market shifts, when the job disappears, when the world trembles in confusion, you will move forward. Because you've built a foundation that no external force can shake. That is the prize. That is the crown. Not the applause, but the becoming. Understand this. Life is not about being better than others. It's about being better than the person you were yesterday. And that version of you, the weaker one, the lazier one, the uncertain one, is the only competition that ever mattered. Every day is a duel between who you are and who you refuse to be again. So the question becomes, how deep is your hunger? Not for success. Not for status. But for truth. For authenticity. For a life that is real, earned, lived fully. Because the people who become legendary, they weren't chasing validation. They were chasing alignment. And through that alignment, everything else came. You have to decide, right now, that this version of you, the one who coasts, who conforms, who waits for life to get easier, is done. He served his purpose. She helped you survive. But now, it's time to step into the next skin. The one who doesn't shrink. The one who doesn't need to be pushed. The one who wakes up and chooses the hard path, because they know it leads to freedom. The truth is, freedom is not given. It is earned. With sweat. With sacrifice. With every small, invisible choice you make when no one's watching. And as you keep showing up, day after day, brick after brick, you begin to change in ways most people will never understand. You begin to glow. You begin to command attention without asking for it. You begin to radiate certainty in a world built on doubt. That is the reward of working harder on yourself, not just what you get, but who you become. And make no mistake, people will notice. They'll ask, what's changed? And you'll smile, because you know, everything changed the moment I stopped working for the job and started working for the mission. The mission of self-mastery, of transformation, of legacy. Because jobs end, titles fade, accolades gather dust. But the man or woman you become, that echoes, that inspires, that lights a path for others to follow long after your work is done. You will become a mirror for possibility. A living reminder that mediocrity is a choice, and so is greatness. So choose greatness. And if you must sacrifice for it, do it willingly. Proudly. Because no price is too high to become who you were born to be. And when the voice of doubt returns, because it will, silence it not with words, but with action. Let your life be your argument. Let your results be your rebuttal. When the world says, you can't, let your discipline say, watch me. Because at the end of your life, it won't matter what job you worked. It will matter how many days you truly lived. How many mornings you rose with fire in your chest and refused to dim your light for the comfort of others. Let this be your creed. That I will work harder on myself than any job ever asked of me. That I will build a mind so strong, a heart so steady, a vision so fierce, that nothing outside of me can shake what lives within. That I will rise, not once, not twice, but every damn time I fall. That I will give this life everything I've got, because anything less would be a betrayal of the gifts I was given. This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is where the old story ends, and the new one begins. Not written by a boss. Not dictated by a system. But authored by you. The you who no longer waits. The you who no longer settles. The you who no longer wonders if you're capable. You know you are. Because you've chosen the path most never will. Because you've committed to working harder on yourself. And now, you are unforgettable. So go. Wake early. Train relentlessly. Think clearly. Speak truth. Walk boldly. Love deeply. Create fearlessly. Live fully. And never, never, forget. The job may pay the bills. But you are here to pay the price for your destiny. And the currency is who you become.